Hey, Sarah, how are we doing?
Good, thanks.
Good.
How are
Good.
you?
I'm doing well. This is take number two. Sarah and I already recorded a couple weeks ago, and most of you know my computer blew up, so we have to do take number two. So we'll try to get this as close to take number one as possible because I liked it a lot.
I know I felt like I gave you some great stuff last time, so I'll see if I can emulate it again this time. I
Absolutely,
feel
I'm sure.
smarter. 2 weeks into quarantine, I feel a little smarter, so maybe I've got some new stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you'll be able to. What's been going on the last couple of weeks since we've talked?
We're still in San Francisco. We're still shelter in place. I know that you're able to get out and move around a little bit up there in Colorado, I
Yeah.
guess over there in Colorado.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just really finding ways to be productive. I've actually found really creative ways to work out during quarantine, and I've been working a lot on my this website that I'm creating and all these other things. I'm just trying to use the time to my advantage because why not? I've got all this time, might as well do it.
Yeah, and we'll get into more of your website and everything that you do later in the podcast. But what are kind of the creative ways you've been working out? I know you've been helping teach a yoga class and also working out at your there's a stadium by your house. So what have you been doing to work out?
Yeah, let me be clear. I'm not yoga certified. My sister's a fourth grade teacher in New York, and she does Zoom calls every day. And once a week, I hop in and do like a workout movement with them and do like, down dog and some of the super easy basic movements. And the kids have been loving it. So
Yeah.
certainly doing that. I do have um, a stadium, like you said, right near the house, and I was able to grab some weights and a med ball and things from our gym before we closed. And I'll go over there and run and just do some random weight stuff and stairs and burpees. And, I feel fortunate. I live really close to Golden Gate Park, so I do a bunch of bike rides. We did like a 20-mile bike ride on Sunday and down to the ocean and just trying to keep moving. It's hard because you're used to walking and moving so much and doing workouts. And now it's just trying to keep moving because sitting for a long time is not good for you.
Yeah, definitely. And Golden Gate Bridge is the park is awesome. We went up there when we came out for your tournament, our last tournament we played, and it was something special. I that was my first time in San Francisco, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
Yeah, I love it. The views are amazing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, getting into more of our podcast now, the first question I ask everyone is, what are the foundations you built your program on at San Francisco?
Yeah. When I got the job at San Francisco, one of the things that really drew me to the school was the holistic approach. It's both the school and the athletic department have a very strong approach to taking care of the whole person, and we call it cura personalis, which is care of the whole person. And that's what I try to emulate everything I do with the program is taking care of them. They're not just golfers, they're not just students. Just taking care of every part of them, making sure we teach them, what to eat and fuel their body with, how to stay hydrated, how to sleep better, making sure they're taking care of their workouts, their social life, their spiritual life, their family life, all of that. And that's what we, have a foundation of here is just making sure that they know that they matter. They're not just golfers. They're not just a golf score. Yeah. And I think that really, when you meet them where they're at and you treat them like individuals, they're going to work harder. And we've done fairly well with that the last couple of years. I'm really proud of us.
Yeah, definitely. And you talked about making sure they focus on sleep. Is there something you guys do to make sure that that's happening? It's kind of a difficult job as a college coach to make sure that they're getting enough sleep or the correct amount of sleep. Is there something that you guys work on or track that with, or is that just kind of them being focused on it?
Yeah, some of them have like the Fitbit or the Apple Watch that tell them how much they sleep and they pay attention to that. For us, it's just giving them education. They're college students. They're going to stay up a lot later than I do. I'm turned into a grandma. I go to sleep at like 9. And so it's just teaching them the things that they can do. Like I've introduced the Calm app to some of them, which is meditation and like nighttime stories that can really help you fall asleep, or doing like body scans, getting rid of stress.
Yeah.
Teaching them to not look at their phone for an hour before they go to sleep because of the blue light. Teaching them kind of to create just the best possible situation for them to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep if possible. We do early morning workouts a couple days a week, and the reason is because they need to know how to function in the morning. Because you've been at the golf tournaments. We're having breakfast at 5:30, and we're on the range by 6:45 for a 8 o'clock shotgun. And so I try to get them up early, but then if I can tell that they're just tired, I'll cancel a morning workout and tell them to use the time to sleep in. So I just think it's important to give them, I mean, they've got to be the ones to step up and take care of this, but just giving them some education is important.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think you're really good at giving education anyways about everything that you talk about to your program. It's something I've noticed from your players, and kind of what I've seen with them out on the golf course is you giving them the educational tips that they need, but also allowing them to kind of figure it out themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't do it for them. You've got to give them as much resources and tools as you can and let them take what works for them and leave the rest. So ultimately it's up to them to really succeed.
Yeah, definitely. And you were at Seton Hall before San Francisco and started the program there, and won 3 straight Big East titles, I believe 4 years after you started the program, which is extremely impressive. What have there been any changes in the foundations you built at Seton Hall versus at San Francisco?
Um, I think I've just grown as a coach a little bit more since then. Starting a program from scratch is one of the greatest things I've ever had the opportunity to do. And it was my first head coaching job. So I really just learned about who I was as a coach. And a lot of the things I learned at Seton Hall as a coach, I was able to bring to San Francisco. A big one is being consistent with your communication and your message. Because if you're not consistent, if you lay ground rules or you have certain expectations and then you're not consistent with moving forward on those, they're gonna see that you're not being authentic and you're not kind of doing the work yourself as a coach. So I think I used to at Seton Hall as a coach, I really wanted the team to like me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so sometimes I wasn't always following through on things because I had trouble, like if I had to discipline an athlete. And now it's different. I understand that you've got to do the hard thing once in a while. You got to make hard decisions, and the team respects you when they see that you're standing up for what you believe in. So I think that's the one thing I've changed is I've had the opportunity just to follow through a little bit more and to be a little bit more consistent with my message.
yeah. That was gold right there. I love that. Consistent with your message and communication. It is really hard, and kind of what you said. Like, you always want to feel like the players are going to like you, but for them to get to the level that you want them to get to, I feel like it does take that consistent communication and consistent message, and holding pat to your rules.
Yeah, and I've shifted the wanting the players to like me to wanting the players to respect me and to respect each other.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to connect or have the rapport with every player the same. It's just, do they respect you, and are they going to, if you're leading them, are they going to follow? And that's what I think is most important as a coach.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to kind of get into your Big East championships you won, because it's so exciting to win a conference championship. And I was lucky enough to do it 3 times as a player and once as a coach at my last stop. What did those Big East championships mean to you? And can you give us some stories that you had from those championships?
It's always fun to think back to those, especially right now, like on Facebook, it says 5 years ago, this is what you were doing. And all the pictures have been popping up from the wins
Absolutely.
because they all happened in like late April. And just remembering that very first one on the last green. I don't look at golf stat when I coach, not very often, because if I start looking at it, I don't stop.
Yeah.
And then I'm not present. So I'm looking at numbers instead of like being where I am.
Yeah.
And so I didn't look at golf stat, and I knew that we were doing really well. And I I had a feeling that we were going to win. In fact, one of the other coaches came up and shook my hand in the fairway on the last hole as the last group was coming through and said, congratulations. And I was like, it's not over yet. Because, they got to sign their scorecards right too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I walk up to the green with the last player, and when the last putt, as she was putting, I pulled up my phone, I looked at GolfStat, and we had like a 7 or 8 shot lead, and I knew at that point. And as soon as she putted, I just lost it and just like started crying, and the team came over. We have a picture of it. And the next year, we didn't know if we won until we got to the scoreboard, because we won by 1 shot the next year.
Wow.
And the same thing happened. As soon as I saw it, I get really emotional. I love those moments. So,
Yeah.
And that third year we actually had a really hard year that year. We had some, sometimes you get a team where they didn't get as much as I would like them to. And we just struggled. We had some stuff happen throughout the year, and they found a way to come together towards the end of the spring and get it done. And we actually won by 12 shots.
Wow.
And we were ranked 4th in the conference. So that was a big one.
Yeah.
So all of them were special, and it was just to be able to do it 3 years in a row was cool.
Absolutely. And it's insane that a golf tournament comes down to 1 shot when there's 900 and some shots hit during the tournament. It just shows how much just one lapse of mental concentration can cost a tournament, really.
Well, and our last player came in, and she was in the fairway, and she's like, "Coach, tell me where we're at." I was like, "You need to make par."
Yeah.
I didn't know where we were. I said, "You need to make par or better."
Yeah.
Okay. She hits the shot, and she hit it a little heavy. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's going to go in the water." It landed just short of the green. It stayed dry, and she hit it to 3 feet and made the putt. And I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, did she just chunk that? Are we going to lose by a shot?"
Yeah, that's
That matters. That up and down was key.
absolutely. And you said you don't look at GolfStat during a tournament. Do you still not look at GolfStat? Do you think that no matter what the tournament, whatever's going on in the tournament, you wouldn't change a game plan for anyway? Kind of, what's your thoughts into that?
Typically, I have a sense of what's happening because I know the players really well, and I can tell by body language what's happening.
Yeah.
For me, if I look at GolfStat, it's kind of like if I was just following one player, you see like score, it might be every 3 holes, a lot 3 holes, you get 6 scores. And so it just goes, and it really, I don't know. I just find that I just get super distracted. I'd rather just like be with them and have the moments with them. So yeah, that's a big one for me, is just, it doesn't really tell the whole story. Sometimes if it's hole by hole, I'll look once in a while because it's a lot more like live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just,
yeah, and it's crazy when you start looking. It's kind of like Twitter. When you're in quarantine, you start looking at it and you just can't get off of it for some reason. I can't figure it out. But yeah, you are correct. That
I compare it to TikTok right now, because that's the thing, is I just found TikTok and it's bad.
Yeah, I saw your cool video you did with the to that one song where you shut all the cabinets. I laughed. I thought that was pretty funny.
You got to keep yourself entertained when you're stuck inside.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on, you are starting so many different endeavors in your life, and it's to do it. You're doing it to help your college coaching, but I think it's really cool because you're continuing to challenge yourself and learn, which then helps your coaching. But you have started a life coaching company and career. Kind of, what was your desire to do that, and what have you learned since you started that?
Yeah, it kind of started back, I want to say 7 years ago. I was at the Women's Golf Coaches Association convention, and Melissa Llewellyn, who's at Auburn now, but she was at Arizona State at the time, she brought in her life coach to speak. And sometimes you go to a conference and the speaker you just connect with. And I just started hearing everything that she was talking about, and I realized, like, I connect with that. And Melissa is a life coach herself, and she kind of talked to me about it. And I've just been thinking about it since then. And then I working with about 5 or 6 years ago with Erica Quam, who has she's a coach for college coaches and high school coaches. So I just realized how much a coach is important. And Erica's theme is who coaches you. Like as a coach, who's coaching you? And I realized that you can't do it on your own. And I just really connect with a lot of that. So in August, I was Googling life coach certifications because I realized this is the time to get a life coach certification. Why not? My work was fine with me doing education on the side, especially because it's helping me as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the Courageous Living Coach certification, which was based go, and I signed up and I got in and decided to do it. And I have learned so much since I've been doing this, and I have gotten I've just met so many amazing people through this organization, and I really feel like it's expanding my skill set as a coach. So I don't know, I've loved it. I think I'm just a better coach already.
Yeah. And you kind of talked to me, you went on retreats and things with this courageous coaching group, and surrounding yourself with people that want to get better, I'm sure, is helping you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a different skill set where it's coaching, but it's not based in the sport.
Yeah.
And I started to realize that coaching is not about giving advice. And I feel like I was doing too much of that as a golf coach, just trying to give advice instead of letting them get to the answer themselves. And that's something I've learned with this group of understanding different things, different like fear patterns and inner critic voices and all these things that athletes themselves have a lot of. And if not, they might be amplified because of, the high level that we're trying to perform at. And so I've learned so much from people who aren't necessarily in sport, but they're in life coaching. And I've just learned to connect and communicate with the team in a different way. Can I give you an example?
I would love an example.
I think I told you this on our first take.
Yeah.
I had a player on the team who was struggling in the middle of a qualifying. It wasn't even a qualifying round. It was just a practice. And she was just talking about a part of her game that she was struggling with. And usually I would have just think about it this way and just start like trying to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And instead I walked the next hole with her and I just asked her question after question after question and got to what was behind the fear and what was behind anxiety around her game. And by the end of the hole, we had identified a couple of things that happened to her in junior golf that is still stuck in her head. And I think just identifying that was really big for her because then she realized, oh, this is a false narrative I'm now. And so then I gave her a little bit of homework on some different things to do to practice behind the scenes. And like 2 days later, she was like, I feel so much more confident. Thank you so much. And, she had to do the work, but it was just that time where I actually just asked her a bunch of questions and had her get to the answer. And that's what I've learned through life coaching is it's not just telling people what to do.
Yeah. That's my favorite part, and that's why I was trying to get you to that story, because I think it's such a key part of coaching, and it's something that I think more people have started talking about in the last couple of years. Is the more questions you ask, the more they're going to retain. The student athlete's going to retain. When you just tell them what's going on, it's tough for them to always retain the information because they don't really have to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I'm learning is asking powerful questions.
Yeah.
There's different types of questions you can ask with coaching. And one that, like there's narrative questions, like what's the story behind that? Why are you telling yourself you're awful out of the bunker?
Yeah.
And then there's challenging questions. Like, is that really true? Like I'm learning that stuff to just not just like be agreeable to press them a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait for, everyone to hear that. That's I think that's, like you said, that can help in coaching and in life in general.
Yeah, and it helps in relationships too.
Yeah, definitely. And going into life coaching, kind of going into life as well, what are 3 to 5 things you think people can do to be happier in life?
I love that it's 3 to 5. I'm gonna pick my. I think like we kind of talked about this behind the scenes. I'm actually gonna challenge the question about being happier
Yeah.
because I think happy is just like a fleeting moment. Um, I'd rather talk about like a few things that really help light you up as an individual.
Yeah.
Things that happiness, is not. You can't be happy all the time. It's just if you are, you're being fake.
Yeah.
I'd rather look at like what's the things you could do to be fulfilled.
Okay.
And those things that fulfill you can really light you up. So I think it's about understanding what your values are and surrounding yourself with people who are going to help you align with your values. For instance, like I love to work out. And so a lot of the people in my life also love to work out, and we work out together and we keep each other accountable, and we'll show up to the gym together. When they open again, I'll do that. uh, but I think it's about who you surround yourself with is really something that you can find fulfillment with.
Yeah.
I think it's about filling your day, then take out every night to read. If the other things that you love doing in your life, take the time to do that stuff, not just do the things you feel like you have to. I also feel like moving your body every day is really important.
Hey, Sarah, can you go back to number 2? I'm going to cut that out. You cut out for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but you cut out.
I thought I was unstable. It said it.
Yeah.
I was
So if you just wait like 3 seconds, and then you can kind of just go from number 2 if you want.
I think another thing that is really important to do to feel fulfilled is to do things that you truly love doing instead of doing things that you think you should do. So for instance, if you love to read or write, take time in your day to journal or to read. If you love to bake, take time every week to bake something. I think sometimes people feel like there's certain things they have to do to be happy or fulfilled. And I think it's about figuring out what do you truly love doing. And another thing I think is really important is to move your body every day, even if it's just a walk around the block. I'm learning that even more quarantine because
Yeah.
a couple days in a row I didn't work out, and I was not the best version of myself. So it's just move your body every day, whether it's a dog walk or going on a bike ride. And I just think that can really, lead to a lot of other things.
Yeah, those are awesome. Understanding your values, surrounding yourself with the right people, doing things you love, and moving your body. Those are things that definitely help. And the doing things you love, I think, is awesome because there's so many times that you feel like you have to do things that you're supposed to do. And what do they say? Keeping up with the Joneses or keeping up with your neighbors across the street on the corner. But doing what you want to do is something that more people need to do. And it's something that I think we're lucky as golf coaches. We get to do what we love to do as a job, but not too many people are lucky enough to do that.
Yeah, and that's actually just something I was thinking about is if you're fortunate enough or you can figure out how to have a career that lights you up, that's just going to change your life too. Because you're going to spend 6, 8, 10 hours a day doing that job. And if you don't enjoy it or you're in a situation that just doesn't fulfill you, then you're going to bring that energy home, into the rest of your life. So yeah, I feel really fortunate to have kind of a dual career I'm creating right now, to be able to be a college coach and a life coach. And I just love it.
Yeah. And that's what I was so excited for you to be on and for people to hear you. And you have that career that lights you up, and you're starting a new passion too with life coaching that's going to help your college coaching, but also a career that lights you up with that. And then you're writing a book as well, which is really cool. And I've loved learning about that book. And can you kind of go into what the book's about and what's your goal for the book?
Yeah. So I've done this thing with the seniors on every team I've coached in the last 5 or 6 years called Real Life 101. And I do 4 or 5 sessions with them in spring of senior year just to help get them ready for what's to come after college and to teach them the things that sometimes they might not learn or just remember different life lessons. So one of the sessions I do with the seniors is life lessons with coach. And it started out with just a list of life lessons where we would sit down and I would tell them the lessons and we would talk it out. And the more I thought about it, I've wanted to write a book for a long time. So I've turned those lessons into a life lessons book. It's, the last time we talked, it was 18 chapters because there's 18 holes in golf. Now it's not based only in golf, but I use a lot of my life, experience through golf to tell the story of these lessons. Each chapter is a lesson I've learned, and the titles are kind of said in a funny way, or at least I think they're funny.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of explain the lesson. I explain how I learned the lesson in my life, and then how the reader can live that lesson, along with like a journal page with prompt questions at the end.
Yeah.
And so it was 18 chapters. And now with everything that's happening with COVID-19, I was like, oh, I can do a 19th chapter. And chapter 19 is how to live lessons 1 through 18 during COVID-19.
Yeah.
And I'm probably 7 or 8 lessons in. And I realize like the lessons are really they really make sense right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like a different way of living that we're doing right now. So that's been fun to like get back to the book and kind of finish the writing. So my goal, I tell this to the team, and when we can get back in airports safely, every time we're walking through an airport, we'll go by one of those like bookstores, and I always point and I'm like, my book's going to be on the top shelf. I can't wait to walk in an airport and see my book. So I've put it out into the universe on this podcast. So now I have to keep moving. So thanks for keeping me accountable.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. Can you go into one of the chapters, one of the lessons? If you don't want to spoil the book, I understand, but if you could give us one, that would be pretty cool.
Yep. It kind of goes with the theme of what we've talked about today, but the first chapter is take care of your body. It's the only place you can't move out of. And I just talk about, all the things we've kind of talked about that I teach the student athletes about what, make sure that you're eating the right stuff and drinking water and hydrating and sleeping well and moving and, going to the doctor, all those things. So I think that's the first lesson. And it's actually the longest chapter because I have the most to say about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, every lesson it's a lot of them are super simple. Some are about being authentic and, being the best version of yourself, things like that. So they're nothing is like groundbreaking, but it's just really kind of sharing my experience and living these lessons and just giving some thoughts on how you can live them and, start exploring like, what does that mean to me? What does it mean to take care of my body? Because everyone's different. So
yeah, that's cool. And I can't wait to read it. I think it's going to be really exciting. And even if they are, like you said, simple things, it's always great to hear new perspectives on those things. And I like that you kind of tied into golf with the 18 holes and now, or 18 chapters and now 19, but it's fun to hear your passion for that and hear the excitement you have for that. And I think it just completely shows in the way you coach and you kind of do things your own way, and it's fun to learn from you.
I am a little crazy.
I love it. Explain your football throwing on the tee box for people?
Well, I'm just that one that I don't sit still very well. And especially like when we're on a par 3, because I usually do the par 3s and Devin, our associate head coach, does the par 5s. And so I'm typically that one that'll be waiting for them on the par 3. And I'll usually have a ball or a football or something because you know how college golf goes. Sometimes there's a wait.
Yeah.
And so we'll just play catch with the ball on the tee just to keep them moving, to keep them interested, to keep them stop thinking about score and not like just staring at the pin and waiting.
Yeah.
Or, like where they get up to the tee, they already know what they want to hit and they take the club out and they're just holding the club for like 5 minutes. I'm like, that's just adding tension. So I'll do things like that, throwing a ball around or just sometimes a Frisbee. It's just something to do.
Yeah. And it's, that's one of my favorite things about you is no matter the way it looks, if you think it helps, you're going to do it, which is really cool. And I think more people in life and more coaches need to be that way in general.
Thank you. I sometimes do, like you said, regardless of how it looks, once in a while, one of the players will be like struggling. I'll be like, if you get that up and down, I'll do 10 burpees, and they'll do it. And I'll look back at the tee, and I'll do them because I said I will.
Yeah, there you go. Gives them a little incentive too, huh?
Right?
So, been awesome so far. Been about 35 minutes. Do you have a couple more minutes for two last questions for me?
Absolutely. I am stuck at home, so we could talk for
Yeah. So, you're doing all these cool things with the coaching and the life coaching and the books. And what do you want your overall legacy to be? Whether that's in coaching or whether that's in life, what's your overall legacy that you
yeah.
want?
It's interesting because I have a chapter about legacy in the book, actually. Uh, and in the chapter, I actually reached out to several young women who I've coached and asked them kind of for like a testimonial.
Yeah.
And getting to hear those testimonials realizes that I'm working to leave the legacy that I want, and I'm starting to. I always think about your 5-foot circle and how you want your 5-foot circle to radiate out farther.
Yeah.
I guess right now it's the 6-foot circle for
Yeah.
COVID time.
That's what I was gonna say.
But with that, I want to be remembered as someone who lived life honestly, with high morals and integrity, and just someone who led my example and motivated others to be the best version of themselves. I think you only get one shot at this, and I think I've lived a pretty full life so far, and I've messed up. I've made bad choices in my life. I haven't done everything great, but I've learned from mistakes, and I think that's something that has helped me get on this path of really wanting to help other people. And so I think that's it. I just want to be remembered as someone who had a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's two things I love there: motivate others to be the best version of themselves, and someone that has a heck of a lot of fun. That's if you can do that in life, I feel like you live a pretty fulfilled life.
Thank you. And, best version of yourself is a common theme for me with my coaching. And because I think we often fall into default version of ourselves. And, you make choices or you do things without any intention or thought behind it. And so that's something that I just work to help people with is be very intentional with your choices. Be intentional with the way you're going to live your life because you get this one shot.
Yeah.
And so remember too. So it's being yourself and being 1% better every day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great right there. I can't wait for people to hear that. They're gonna love that. And my final question: I started this podcast to give to highlight women's golf coaches. I've learned so much from them, and you yourself, I've learned so much from. You were actually my first recruiting trip at Colorado State. I was from the East Midwest, so I didn't really know any of the coaches out west, and we were in California, and you were the first person to introduce yourself. So I really appreciate that. But the other reason I'm doing this podcast is I'm on a quest to find what separates the best coaches from the rest. So what do you think separates the top coaches in the country from coaches that aren't as successful?
Yeah. I have to say I approached you to say hi because you looked approachable and nice. So there's that.
Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Too many smiles probably for me. I don't frown too often, so.
Yeah. Well, I think best coaches in any sport, in anything, in life coaching, they're the ones that are really, really passionate about what they do, and they're going to go above and beyond in anything. So, especially with college coaching, they're the ones that are going to get up at 5 a.m. and take a 6 a.m. recruiting call to get a player from Europe because they've got to get up and have that conversation at that time.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to work hard to just continue to create strong team culture and to show passion for that. Like we're, especially golf coaches, it's an individual sport that we make it. And so I think the best coaches are really passionate about understanding we have to meet them where they are individually, and you have to empathy for each of them, one at a time, but also look at the whole team and how are we going to create team culture where everyone respects each other and everyone's going to work hard towards the same thing. So a team on board moving in the same direction are the best ones out there. And they're usually leading with and whatever their sport is.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And thank you so much for coming on, doing take number 2 with me. I really appreciate it. And it definitely was just as good, if not better, than take 1. So maybe I'll lose this one, and we can just keep taping them, and then they'll just keep getting better and better.
I would be happy to talk to you some more.
But Sara, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait for people to hear it. The passion that you bring to the game, the passion that you bring to coaching, and the passion that you bring to life in general is infectious in people and infectious in your team and your program. And I can't wait for people to hear you.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for what you're doing. I love a spotlight on women's golf and college athletics. You don't see it that often, so thanks for getting our message out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll talk soon. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah.